Hey everybody, my name's Paula. I want to tell you the story of my family and why I no longer talk to my dad, why I don't trust men anymore, and why I cry at night. I can't call my family super friendly or perfect. We're ordinary people who have ordinary problems. We used to fight sometimes, and Mom and Dad shared something from time to time, especially his work, where he spent 80% of his time flying to business trips, but overall, we all lived quite peacefully. Me, my younger sister, and my parents. My dad's business trips are another story. Well, overall, he hasn't been at home for about 6 months and moved around to different locations. 2 weeks somewhere, a week at home, then another month away, and so on. But he earned good money. We had our own big house with a garden. My mom did not work. She was engaged in farming, though she mostly went shopping and raised us. Well, me and my sister got everything schoolgirls would dream of. My world didn't start falling apart right away. First, on a school trip in a nearby city, I happened to see my dad showing something on his phone to a woman on the street and smiling. I didn't have the opportunity to approach him because I was going on a bus, but I paid no particular attention to this anyway, because he showed her a map and explained how to get to the library, for example. But I didn't even tell anyone about it. But in my memory, this event was fixed somehow, and I don't know why. And then I went to college in that city. Not on purpose, but we only had 2 colleges, and this wasn't a very prestigious education. But I had good grades to qualify for something more, so I took a chance and got a scholarship to become an economist. Right there, I was given a place in a hostel. It was totally economical for me. I didn't live with my parents, and I didn't spend money on accommodations and education. My dad came to see me often, and I think I saw him even more often than I had seen him before. The head office of his firm was right next to my college, so I had dinner with him almost every night, talking and so on. The only thing was that he kept asking me how often I went out from the campus, and for some reason, he was a little nervous about it, but I missed the ring again. I was too happy to learn, to see new places and stuff. And in the 2nd semester, following my friend's advice, I got a job at a nice cafe as a waitress. We had so many other students there who had the time and who did not want to depend on their parents. Some really complained it was hard for them to combine, but I was fine. I even had some fun. Customers left me good tips. My boss paid me a steady salary, and they even let me go home earlier or come for a shift a little later. So I was just enjoying my life until I saw my dad sitting at one of my tables with the same woman I'd seen a couple of years ago. I have a good memory. I immediately recognized her face because of such an unusual situation, and I couldn't make a mistake. And Dad obviously wasn't talking to her about work, because the woman had a bouquet of flowers in her hands. He held her hand and made an order from my colleague for a standard romantic set. We called that classic wine lobster salad. For some reason, lovers always order this. I couldn't get out of the back room that night. My colleague worked for me. Good thing there weren't many orders. Only 3 couples came before the end of the shift, including my dad's one. I just didn't know what to do. So I was very afraid that my dad would see me and talk. I came home completely broken. I locked myself in my room and thought until my head was aching. Seemed like the mythical lover somehow intervened into our family. I'm not too naive to think it's one of Dad's distant sisters or aunt. Aunts and sisters don't receive such bouquets. And at home, my mom and my sister, who love my dad and always are waiting for him to come home from a business trip. In the end, I decided to talk to someone, and I chose a friend whose parents have been divorced for a long time. My friend said we should check it out. Trace, somehow find out or track down, then act upon the circumstances. Maybe it was his first time, and it all ended just with dinner. Or is it really his relative? Or not a relative, but some sort of colleague? Anyway, I should speak to my mom only in the last turn, when I would have all the information. Or stay silent and try to put pressure on Dad by myself to stop it. I thought this was a reasonable method. I started to follow it. Don't even ask me how, but I'll tell you right away. There was a programmer guy, a friend of mine, and a couple of kilos of stage makeup. As a result, we were able to hack my dad's phone from a distance, connect a spy program to use a GPS to give out his location. Then my legs and the ability to transform came into play. I'll tell you now, what I found out almost killed me. I thought that being a lover was painful and bad, but I didn't really know how much it could hurt to be true. Because my dad didn't make a mistake a couple of times having a lover. Oh, he went much further. My dad had a second family. The most freaking real second family. With a second wife, second kids, and a second 2-story house with a nice attic. Ironically, his new family with that woman had 2 sons, about the same age as me and my sister, maybe a couple of years younger. There was a freaking antipode of Eastern countries' polygamy, a blonde wife, a brunette wife, and kids. Something like, if you want hugs and princesses, here are 2 daughters for you. If you want something brutal, here are 2 sons, and with them, you can implement the ideas of sports and brotherhood. The main thing is not to confuse them. Anyway, it was a gorgeous dream, not a life. As you can see, the situation didn't get clear for me personally in any way. It didn't get any easier. It only got worse. I just didn't know how to react to what was going on, or what to tell my mom. I just knew it would kill her, because she loved Dad, and maybe she would even forgive him for having a mistress, but not a family. Then, our team came up with a new plan. I had to get acquainted with the older of my dad's sons, and became his friend, if it was possible. Then, fall in love with him, and imitate the relationship, and then introduce him to my father as my boyfriend, and see what happens. Honestly, I didn't particularly believe in this plan. Yet, a stranger girl is unlikely to cause a delight from a 17-year-old guy. Rather, a suspicion that something is wrong here. But I decided to try, just for the sake of revenge on my father for all my pain. As it turned out, I was completely wrong to worry. Apparently, the boy was not spoiled by the girl's attention, and I was very attractive like my mom. So after our casual meeting and my sweet smiles, we went classic and played the scene, a girl in trouble. So he invited me to drink some coffee and chat, and then he took my phone number. We started talking. I must say, the guy really was not bad. He made good jokes and he supported conversations very well. If it weren't for the fact that he was my stepbrother, a carefully hidden brother, I might even consider making this relationship real. But a plan is a plan, and soon we moved to dating. Of course, we didn't cross the line. I pretended to be a very religious person from a strict family, where even a kiss before marriage was considered a terrible sin. So, he only enjoyed holding my hand. But soon, he was probably tired of this, and he decided to give our relationship a formal status. He introduced me to his mother. With Dad, it didn't work out. My dad just had a shift in my family. I soon became part of their family, and I had a great opportunity to study the situation from the inside. But they all turned out to be just an ordinary family, as we are. They also saw their father very rarely, lived quite comfortably, and their mom was also a housewife. Anyway, the only difference was in the color of the mom's hair and the kid's gender. But soon, was the moment of my revenge. The guy called me and said his dad returned from a business trip, and so he invited me to a full family dinner. I rubbed my hands in excitement and waited for a global scandal. And then you could pick up a brush and paint an oil painting. You should have seen my dad's face when he saw me walking in, holding his eldest son's hand. And yet, I was still sweetly chatting with his wife and second kid. I think he had a couple of heart attacks there. But all the way, he pretended he didn't know me. Until I myself, having hugged the others, I turned to him and shouted at the whole restaurant, "Oh, Daddy, you're here! Meet my boyfriend!" Anyway, instead of a quiet family evening, it turned out to be a real circus. It was useless for my dad to deny anything. I have a lot of photos with him in my phone, a lot of stories, etc. In any case, how would he then look into my eyes if he started to deny it in front of everyone, saying I'm not his daughter? Of course, wife number 2 was extremely distrustful at first. She was always repeating something like, "This is your ex-family, right?" To which I replied with a constant happy smile that I was not an ex, but a real one. My mom just called last night and told me how cool it was that they were having a barbecue at their wedding anniversary. The main thing was not to forget to make the most naive face, but it was internally disgusting from pain, so it was quite difficult. As a result, I couldn't stand it, and I left them all fighting amongst themselves. I don't know what they agreed on, but my dad had finally given up on business trips and now spends all his time with my mom. She's happy, and I'm not saying. If it wasn't for my luck and my big and terrible revenge, otherwise, Dad would have continued to go on business trips and cheat us all. I don't talk to him, by the way. I only said one phrase to him before turning on the ignore mode. If he hurts our mom or my sister again, it would be very, very bad for him. Because my friends have a very good imagination and sense of humor. That's the story, folks. Write in the comments what you would do in my shoes. Like the video so that I know you support me. And be honest with each other to avoid getting into the same situations.